These are exact quotes from a federal court hearing in the trial of Sean Diddy Combs, reported by Inner City Press. It all started with a normal logistics email. But that email became the crack that let everything pour out. One message, hidden under a dozen replies, kicked off a chain of events no one expected. It didn't leak in a raid or hack. It was sent by accident. And by the time the court saw it, the damage was done. Taylor Swift's tour, once the world's biggest music show, was now tied to a much darker story. Fan lists vanished. People went missing. Strange access backstage. Behind the flash and social media buzz was a system no one saw coming. Prosecutors now say the tour wasn't just a concert. It was a trap. The courtroom leaned in. The judge sat forward. A name not meant to come up appeared on the screen, glowing. Everyone froze. It wasn't a taped call. It wasn't even marked secret. But it was dangerous. A plain email. It looked like any normal VIP list. The title, VIP Review Nashville plus Tampa. Just venue plans, access passes, regular stuff. But buried in the thread was a red highlighted line. Send the scout names directly to LA Mark Home M. The room went quiet. Prosecutors stopped mid-sentence. The judge leaned closer. The defense team objected, but it didn't matter anymore. The email was already part of the case, Exhibit 42A. Not because of what it said, but because of who it linked to. Hidden inside the world's biggest pop tour's planning notes was a direct connection to Sean Diddy Combs. It wasn't a direct charge. It didn't give full details, but it tied him in. The Eras Tour wasn't supposed to matter here. Taylor Swift's name wasn't expected in a case about secret tracking, missing people, or control. But now it was there, and it wasn't just her name. This was about a whole hidden system. The court sealed some pages, but by then, reporters had already seen what mattered. The email came from an inactive Swift LLC account. It had been turned on again by mistake. A new staff member had added an old address. That old inbox was linked to a storage system, and that system had been subpoenaed during another probe into Diddy's business backers. That's how the memo was found. The Eras Tour's fan experience list became part of federal records. And that's when the name Crimson 10 appeared. I got a list of names marked in a folder called Scout Sync. These weren't just random fans. The prosecutor's voice trembled slightly when he said it. These weren't fans. They were targets. The courtroom went silent. For the first time, it wasn't just about what Diddy may have done, but about who may have helped even without knowing it. It all started with something simple, a photo. A smiling girl outside the Eras Tour show in Dallas. Glitter makeup, shiny dress, red wristband. At first, nothing seemed wrong. But then 5 more photos came. Different girls, different cities, same red band. It wasn't sold on Ticketmaster, it wasn't listed in any VIP offer. Swift's team never talked about it. The court put the images side by side. The bands weren't bright or flashy, just a dull red. But there was something inside each one. An FBI tech expert explained. It was a passive RFID chip, meant for quiet tracking. These aren't for fans, she said. They're used to watch people in busy places. Once activated, they sent location signals in short range. The girls were being tracked. One mother testified. Her daughter won a supposed Swift surprise contest on Instagram. It promised a secret acoustic set before the show. They got a plain envelope, no logo, no details, just a red wristband and an address. Her daughter was excited. She thought it was a secret Taylor event, maybe a chance to meet her. The wristband said to arrive 2 hours early at a private gate near the Dallas venue. Her mom drove her there. She never came back. Later footage showed the girl entering a side gate, not part of the normal fan entrance. She was listed as crew, intern, but Swift's team had no record of her. That gate was for backstage overflow. After that, the trail vanished. Other girls with red bands showed up at Diddy-linked events. One worked as unpaid crew at a 2022 fashion show. She was underage, listed by a modeling agency that no longer exists. That agency, prosecutors found, had shared bank info with a company called Pulse Guest Relations, tied to Diddy's team. This wasn't bad luck anymore. The red wristbands weren't merch. They were filters. One leaked message proved it. Crimson. 10 is locked. No resyncs. Push model. Night 2. Group text only. The room froze. These girls weren't just picked. They were tracked, chosen, and made to disappear. And the Eras tour? It wasn't the goal, it was the delivery route. This whole thing wasn't found in some office. Not even hacked from a computer. It came from a scratched red case. It was a red Pelican case, old and dented, stored under a fake name in a rented storage unit. Inside was a solid-state drive labeled Miami Night 6 Combs. Prosecutors showed it in court as Exhibit 42B. The lights dimmed as they opened the files. Among hundreds of folders, one stood out, Scout Sync. It held video clips, private emails, and field notes that followed a sickening pattern. Clip 3A played. The court transcript read, "Yo, this is confirmation. Swift VIP pulls are clean. Sent to Shell East list. TS initials flagged. Don't touch her. She's heat right now." DR. Room froze. Taylor Swift wasn't being blamed. She was being spoken of like protection. Someone who was off limits. That phrase, "she's heat right now," triggered an urgent review. It meant someone tried and someone higher shut it down. But that warning didn't protect her fans. Especially, not the ones with red bands. The drive showed weekend events listed as celebrity convergence. Fancy parties at mansions, timed with concerts, award shows, or festivals. May 2023, Miami. Swift's tour had just passed through. Scouts had been placed outside her venue. Witness 12, a former private security guard for Diddy, testified. His role was logistics, but what he saw wasn't security, it was movement. He said it wasn't about guarding anyone, it was about shifting people around. When asked how Taylor's tour was involved, he shook his head. She didn't know, he said, but they used her. Big shows, huge crowds, fast exits, perfect cover. Then came the key detail. The courtroom saw a layout of a mansion on Star Island. It was marked Combs Production Retreat. Guest records from the night of Swift's concert listed a visitor with a name like someone on her team. She didn't go in, but her assistant did. The witness stared straight ahead and said, "I think they wanted her to be the new front. She had the reach. She had the shield." Now the courtroom wasn't just staring at Diddy. They were staring at a hidden system that worked in plain sight. By the fourth day, everyone had adjusted to the madness. Lost girls, digital trails, red bands. It was all starting to blur. But then the prosecution brought a mother to the stand. Her voice trembled, not because she feared the court, but because this was the first time anyone had truly listened. Her 20-year-old daughter thought she'd won a fan VIP experience. It came from a verified Instagram account, Swift Surprise Events. The post had been shared by a well-known music blogger. It promised a private acoustic show. All she had to do was enter her info, tag a friend, and wait. A week later, a red wristband came in the mail. No branding, no welcome note. Just the band and a time on a plain label. The girl was thrilled. She believed it was a secret Taylor Swift event, maybe even a meet and greet. The time was 2 hours before the concert. The spot. A private gate near the Dallas Stadium marked "Load In." Her mom dropped her off. She never saw her again. The courtroom watched as the last image was shown, a video still of the girl waving at a loading truck before walking around the corner. The timestamp showed her entering the private gate. There was no footage of her leaving. She was never seen at the show. Her phone sent one signal after entry, then nothing. The defense argued it could all be random. But then came the real shock. A second photo. Another girl. Same red wristband. She showed up as crew at a 2022 fashion event hosted by Combs Global. She was 19, unpaid, and her background was linked to a shut-down modeling agency tied to Pulse Guest Relations. This wasn't random. It was a plan. FBI agents confirmed Pulse was a fake events company with no real office. It had been offering fan experiences under Swift's tour through fake social media pages. These pages copied fan giveaway accounts but were made to gather data, flag VIP targets, and send out fake invites. When the court saw the texts pulled from one of these pages, the room reacted. The message read, "Push Crimson 10 only to final. Shortlist. Do not sync to merch list. Route directly to Pulse. Confirm VIPs received Night 2 invite. Group text only. No single messages. Diddy wants models. Age cap, Chapman 25. This wasn't about fans. It was built to traffic people. Hidden, behind lights, music, and fan hype. Day 5 opened with a name that shocked the whole courtroom. Ariana Grande. Up until now, everything had been about Taylor Swift's Eras tour, the red wristbands, and the dark web operating behind it. Ariana had no part in the tour. She wasn't working with Taylor. She had her own show on the other side of the country. So why was her name listed in an exhibit labeled 42FA? The next witness explained. A digital analyst hired to decode a marketing firm linked to Combs Global. He showed the courtroom a file named AG Guest Clause, carryover from Crimson. The prosecutor asked what it meant. The analyst flipped through the pages. It's a hidden tracker rule, he said. It moves active tracking data from one event to another without the main artist knowing. The judge raised an eyebrow. Are you saying Ariana Grande's event used tracking info from Taylor Swift's tour? The analyst nodded. Yes, Your Honor. The red wristband tags were copied into a new system. What followed was chilling. The same girls, Crimson 10, had been traced across different events. A new image was shown. 2 girls, once tied to Swift's fan system, entering Ariana's perfume launch in Miami, but not through the front. They came through a service elevator, listed on a private guest sheet. That list was kept by Diddy's own security. Then came another witness, a former concierge at the Ye Hotel where the event took place. When shown the footage of the 2 girls, he whispered, I remember them. They weren't there for the party. When asked why, he explained, they looked nervous, like they had a task but didn't know what it was. Was Ariana there? Yes, performing upstairs. She had no clue anyone else was down that hall. The prosecutors ended this part with a chart labeled Celebrity Pass-Through Model. At the top, big-name stars. Below, layers of events and handlers. The theory? Famous artists weren't involved, but their names, teams, and events were being used to hide something darker. They weren't part of it. They didn't know. But their concerts, tours, and fame made the perfect cover. In that moment, the court didn't see celebrities. They saw pawns in someone else's plan. The week had been long. So much testimony. So many leaks. Emails. Surveillance. Missing girls. Red wristbands. It was overwhelming. But then came the witness who shook the courtroom. He wasn't rich or known. Just a backup dancer from Taylor Swift's Southeast tour leg. The same leg where girls vanished and badges didn't match. He took the stand. The judge asked if he was ready. He nodded. Then he said 5 words that froze the room. I saw the wrong tape. He told the story slowly. After rehearsal in Atlanta, he went backstage to grab water. The green room was locked. Odd, but not unheard of. A woman in red exited, shaking, silent, and without a pass. He asked, You good? She said nothing. He stepped inside. What he saw wasn't a break room. It wasn't crew setup. It wasn't part of the tour. A black curtain was hanging from a tripod. A fake interview set was ready. A red light blinked on the camera. A woman sat crying. 2 men in suits stood beside her. A table nearby held red folders, a can of sparkling water, and headphones. The dancer froze. Then one man turned and said, Wrong green room. This one's private. The dancer backed out, apologized, and tried to forget. Weeks later, while scrolling online, he saw courtroom footage from a seized drive. A distorted video. In the background, his own voice. You good? That moment had been recorded without him knowing. That's when he realized it wasn't just about following the girls. Everyone was being watched. The prosecution showed images from other cities, Denver, Miami, Las Vegas. The same curtain, the same red folders. Always near Swift's shows. Always with girls wearing red wristbands. Always set up under fake production. Names. The video's ID tag. TSRW1. Taylor Swift Red Room Witness. 1. When asked if he ever saw the red-dressed girl again, he shook his head. Her trailer burned 2 weeks later. They replaced her. No one said her name. The court had already seen emails, burner phones, and secret tracking, but nothing prepared them for what came next. Something physical, real, and haunting. A necklace. It was shown inside a glass case, a silver charm shaped like a cassette tape, hanging on a thin chain. Not sold as merch, not from a fan shop. This cassette was real and it worked. Inside was a short audio clip, just 16 seconds. A young woman's voice, whispering, scared, barely audible through static. I got lucky that I'm prettier in person. A pause. There's someone behind the mirror. I saw them move. Then silence. A click. The tape ended. The girl, wearing the necklace, had been on the Crimson 10 list. She checked into a small Nashville hotel on May 6, 2023, the night of Swift's concert in town. She never showed up to the show. Her hotel room was spotless, except for one thing. The necklace, left on the windowsill. What came next shocked even top investigators. The cassette wasn't just a voice recorder. It held a code once used for old biometric locks. That same code matched a private home owned by Sean Combs. The necklace wasn't just a keepsake. It was a key to a place she was never meant to enter. Surveillance from that hotel was partly lost. 90 minutes of footage was missing from the third floor. 2 maids said they smelled something strange the next morning from room 312. No report was filed. Staff thought it was a pipe leak until the case reopened. The last person to see her alive was the doorman. She had stepped outside and said something odd. Tell my mom I saw her favorite song live. But she hadn't. She never got to the concert. Later, a housekeeper found a red velvet envelope under the bed. Inside, a Taylor Swift concert ticket, unused wristband, and a torn note. The shaky handwriting said, I won something I didn't sign up for. Prosecutors linked her case to a secret campaign named Era Surprise Selection. It was never public, only shared through DMs and email. The company behind it, Combs Experience Group, now shut down. They weren't running giveaways. They were running traps. The necklace wasn't a gift, it was part of the setup, and maybe that girl had found out too much, or maybe she was the bait. Most of the evidence in this case came from videos, texts, or files. But the next clue came from somewhere unexpected, a fan page. It was called Swift Coded. Just 15,000 followers. A lyric breakdown account. The kind fans followed, for fun theories and hidden messages, but the prosecutors weren't looking at its posts. They were looking at its timing. A month before the Nashville concert, the page posted a blurry red envelope with the words, She's not ready for what's coming. 3 days before a leaked TikTok showed a girl with a red band, Swift Coded posted, Not every VIP is meant to return. Some are just meant to be seen. 1 week before the cassette necklace was found, the page posted a tape emoji with the words, You won, but you don't know what yet. At first it seemed like a creepy coincidence until they checked the IP logs. Swift Coded wasn't run by a fan. It was controlled by a Pulse event server, the same Pulse that ignored legal orders, the same Pulse that sorted VIP names. Swift Coded wasn't theory. It was a secret system, a private board, pretending to be fandom, hiding clues in plain sight. The last post on Swift Coded was dated June 1st, 2023. It read, When the music stops, don't clap, run. Hours later, the account went private. Then it vanished. Deleted. Erased. FBI agents called it one of the scariest pieces in the case, not just for what it said, but for what it meant. Someone knew what was coming. Someone tried to warn the targets, but only in hints, never clearly. The Final item in this part of the trial was shown next, a burned piece of cardstock, found in a trash fire near a private home in Brentwood, California. It was an invitation, edges blackened, half gone, but still readable. It said, C10 Final Nashville Drop. On the back, a handwritten swift lyric, I knew you'd haunt. All of my what-ifs. It was never sent to Taylor. It wasn't part of her tour plans. It had been mailed directly to the Swift-coded address. The courtroom didn't gasp. They didn't have to. The silence said it all. By the last day, no one thought they could be shocked again. But the prosecution had saved one last piece. No words, no documents, no witnesses. Just a video. The lights dimmed. A screen lit up with a fan-shot clip from the Eras Tour in Nashville. Fireworks burst. The crowd cheered. Phones flashed. People sang. Pure joy. But in the top right corner of the screen, barely visible, a figure moved. A girl in a red dress. She wasn't clapping or singing. Just walking. Slowly. Toward the exit. Her red wristband caught the light. Not shiny. Not bright. Just glowing. Faintly. The video paused. The image zoomed in. Her face matched a name on the Crimson 10 list. She hadn't posted since August 2023. She was marked as attended in backstage logs, but never logged out. The clip wasn't graphic. It wasn't violent, but it was worse than that. It was quiet. It was real. She thought she had won. And maybe she had. She had won the right to vanish, with no one watching. The court didn't speak. The judge leaned back. No one objected. No one asked questions. Because nothing more needed to be said. Behind the screaming crowds of a billion-dollar tour, behind the music, the lights and the joy, something else had been moving. Something cold. Something quiet. Taylor Swift's tour was never meant to be part of this trial. Her name wasn't supposed to be here, but it was. And it wasn't because she was guilty. It was because someone used her world as a mask. A shield. A bright cover that let something darker pass by unnoticed. And if her tour was the shield, then who or what was the sword? No more lights. No more sound. Just silence. The trial was over. For now. But its shadow would stretch far beyond the race. Courtroom. Taylor Swift wasn't accused. Ariana Grande wasn't involved. Yet both were drawn into a system they never saw. A system that hid behind their fame. The stars were never the hunters. They were used as covers, bright enough to distract, big enough to protect. But in the end, none of them were in control. The real plan moved quietly, underneath glitter, behind songs, inside wristbands, and even as the court ended, people were still missing. Names unanswered,